everyone, this is Kane with Kane Actions, and on this video tutorial I'm just going to be talking about the lips. We're going to look at cleaning up a lip line, a lipstick line if it's smudged, and reshaping and plumping up lips if need be. So you're looking at the full edit. Here I'm going to take you back to the very beginning of this picture. Has no edits whatsoever on it, and I will take you through a full edit, just probably in stages through the video. So please put them all together and watch so you can find out how to get from here to here. So this particular picture, again, if you look at just the lips from the edit back to the original, we do need to clean up those lips just a little bit and reshape them a little bit. There's some smudging going on. Again, here's the edit, here's the original. So I'm just going to go in my history here and click on my lips section. And of course they look kind of overly saturated right now, but again, I haven't had the rest of the edit to tone them down yet. But what we're going to look at is reshaping the line and then liquefying to reshape them just a little bit. So if we start here, we're going to add a layer to reshape and define and color and line them a little bit darker. And then we're going to take a look at liquefying them, just changing the shape just a little bit, and then changing the overall lightness or coloring of them. So let's take these other layers here and dump them into the trash. And I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more, just to the lips. And the first thing we want to do is just start a new layer, just a blank layer, and go ahead and set your layer to soft light blending mode. And this allows the color that we're going to apply to just kind of overlap her existing texture of her lips and skin, so we see that texture come through. And I've already got a color here that I've sampled, so basically I went in and I just picked a color on her lip somewhere in here, in this mid-tone kind of color range, and that's the color that we're going to pick. So in order to eyedropper it, you basically just want to come in here, and you can hit your eyedropper tool if you want to, which is just this little eyedropper here, and go that way, or you can click your little swatches here and it'll allow you to open up and pick your color. So I've got my color picked, and basically what we want to do is just grab a brush and you're going to pull up the hardness just a little bit. I have it set at 25% hardness, and that allows us to not have too much overspray. So it may look kind of thick when you go on the first time, but you're just taking a regular brush and we're just kind of brushing up along here. And I'm building up my strokes, so eventually I'm going to have more than like a 50% opacity on here, which is what my brush opacity is set to. I'm going to come down just along the bottom half of her lips and just fill it in. And the parts where I really am missing the color, I'm just going to fill in a little bit harder here. So this is defining the lip line just a little bit more than it was before. And now I'm just going to kind of sweep it over most of her lip here, filling it in. Okay, so it's not going to be absolutely perfect this first time around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take another blank layer, just clicking that in the layers panel here, and the exact same thing, switch this to soft light blending mode, and I can come in here and I'll probably lower my opacity of my brush just a little bit to 30, and I'm basically going to be just kind of going over the very edge of the lip line and filling it in a little bit. And again, right here on the lip line and over in the corner. So now what we have with these two layers that are set to soft light is we've got that texture coming through, and it helped to plump up her lips. So let's kind of go back to the beginning, kind of a messy lip line, and now we've got some thickness there. Now I'm going to show you how you can change the shape of the overall lip. What we need to do is liquefy. So I want to merge this. There's an action in the Heart and Soul set called Merge It. and it's going to give me a new fresh pixel layer to work on, so that I guess you could flatten your picture at this point right now, but I like to leave all my layers accessible, so if whatever I do with liquefy, if I absolutely hate it, I can just dump it to the garbage can and I'm left with the 2 layers that I already did. I don't have these layers lost. So we've got a merge layer here, and I'm just going to grab the marquee tool because we really only need to look at the lip section here. We don't want to necessarily have to have the liquefy pull up all of the pixels on this picture. So we're going to go to filter, and then it's liquefy. So you can see it just brought in this section here. So the main tool that you're going to ever use in liquefy is called the forward warp tool. I hardly ever find myself using any of the other tools for the things that I do. So the forward warp tool, basically, you want to think of it as finding the center of this little circle and using the center to pull up. So if I use just this top edge of the circle and I pull up, I've done a bad thing, and that doesn't look good. But if I use the center and I'm trying to get just right along the top of her lip here, and I pull up, I can start to pull just that section up. So the size, you just kind of probably have to kind of play with the size of your brush here, and you're using the bracket, left and right bracket keys, just like you would the regular brush, to change the size of this warp tool. So the bigger it is, usually the better. So we're just going to lift her lip just a little bit here, lift it here, and I'm just kind of changing the shape of her lip just a little bit. You can make someone have just a little bit of a smile, upward smile, just by liquefying the corners of their lips here. I'm going to bring this part of her lip down just a little bit and make it a little thicker down here. So again, where I want to pull up, I'm making sure that the center of this warp tool circle, kind of envisioning the very center of it, that's where it's going to start to pull the edge up from. So once I've kind of changed the shape of her lips just a little bit, we'll hit OK in just a moment. We'll thicken this. We'll move this over and thicken it up a little bit. We're going to say, all right, if you mess up and you want to go back, just hit the Alt or Option key, and this cancel button up here turns to reset. And you can just reset the whole thing. But we're going to say OK. And I'll come in here and just get rid of that marquee. And we're going to take a look at the before and the after. So it's a minor change. It's nothing outrageous or crazy, but it just changed the shape of her mouth, made it a little thicker, and made it a little bit in keeping with the rest of her face, I guess. So the very last thing I want to show you is if you kind of want to change the brightness or the color of the lip. We're going to do a 2-step process here, just using regular adjustment layers. And first thing we're going to do is just do a curves adjustment. And I'm just going to pick the very center of the curve and brighten it up a little bit. And then we're going to go back into the adjustments, and we're going to add a hue and saturation. And since we're dealing with the color red here, I'm going to go into this master and pick the reds. And now this is just going to affect the red tones in the picture. So we can change the coloring and just look at the lips, because we're going to mask this into just the lips. So if you want to make it more of a red, if you want to take out, let's just redo that whole thing, just take out the saturation of it and make it a little less saturated, you can do that. You see this lightness here. I don't particularly love the lightness because it adds more of a foggy haze on the picture, which isn't great. That's why I did the curves to brighten it versus using the lightness slider. But in this particular case, if I wanted to just change the coloring to maybe a little bit more of a pinkish tone, I could go this direction with my hue. Or if I wanted to make it more of a reddish tone and get rid of some of the pinks, I could take it more in the right-hand direction here. So I'm just going to barely take it over, and I'm going to take the saturation down just a little bit. We don't want her to have gray lips, but just a tiny bit of saturation decrease is nice. And so now we have hue and saturation and curves, and this is affecting the entire picture, and we don't want that. So I'm going to shift click and pick them both, and then you can just hit Command or Control G and it will group them, or you can just say new group from layers if you pick this little flyout menu here on your layers palette, we'll do the new group from layers. Okay, so now we've got those two layers grouped in here, and we're going to add a layer mask to it. It's a white layer mask, so we're seeing everything that does. Let's just invert that layer mask. Command or Control I, or if you're in your properties of your masks here, you can invert it. And so now the hue and saturation and the curves is hidden inside of this little group here. So now what we're going to do is grab a white brush, and I'm going to pick about a 30% or 50% opacity brush. I'm just going to begin to brush this effect on just the lips. And you can see I took the hardness of the brush down just a little bit, making it softer. You can just kind of play and finagle that as you need on your particular picture. So I'm just brushing this effect in right here. And again, I have a 50% opacity brush, but you can probably hear the clicking of my mouse. I'm just building up these strokes here. I like to slowly build them up versus just painting it on at 100%. I've always done that. I think it helps you to maintain a little bit more control. So once you have that painted on, you can kind of see, if I show you the mask, exactly where I have it painted. You can see the lips are clear here. So we're going to take this overall opacity of this grouped layer and just kind of inch it up until you see what you like. Maybe somewhere around, 70% on this particular picture. So let's go ahead and zoom that out just a little bit so you can see the before and the after. There's before, and here's after. We've got lips that have more of a defined shape, a little bit plumper, a little bit different shape due to that liquefy, and obviously the coloring has changed. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. You can also apply this to eyeshadows and eyeshadow coloring, kind of changing up the coloring by using those blank layers, painting on them with the color that you like, and using the soft light blending mode. I will be back with more of this particular edit so you can see the start to finish and how to get there. For more in-depth tutorials like this that feature Photoshop and Lightroom tutorials as well as start to finish edits using my Photoshop actions, please visit my website michellecanephotography.com, and also be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks everyone for watching, and have a blessed day.